Welcome, Presley, to Pop Rock Radio. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, doing really, really, really well. Now, just before we get started, I like to remind everyone that the QR code on the screen, if you're watching on a computer screen or on a TV screen, you can scan that with your phone, and that will go to Presley's website. And from there, you can get all the social media, merch stores, and everything else like that. So use that QR code. And if you're on your phone, the link will be in the description below. So you can go there and do what we always say to do and support our local artists and buy their merch. So there you go. There's a
Fantastic.
QR code. I can see some merch in the background.
Yeah, that's there's a T-shirt there,
Yep.
and that's for Tirana Americana, the one with the Tirana
Yeah.
on it. Uh, that's for the country record, and then there's a T-towel there with the
Great.
Eclecta trifecta.
All right. So I've been rearranging the studio. So the camera's sitting there, and the stand isn't quite big enough to go over the screen there to look at it. So I'm going to be dancing around a bit.
Oh, no, that's
So,
okay.
yeah. So yeah. So you've done something that most artists and musicians don't or wouldn't even attempt to do. You've put out three songs off three separate albums at once.
Yeah.
What possessed you to do that?
Well, we had the long lockdowns
Yep.
during COVID here in Melbourne, and I just dawned on me that I hadn't done a lot of the projects that I've been daydreaming about.
Yep.
So I decided that I was just going to do them.
Yep.
And I started one, and then I got the idea. It's like, well, I might have time. May I just do three records,
Yep.
uh, and I'll release them at one time. And yeah, there's a country record and a soul record and an old jazz record,
Yep.
and a lot of it was recorded here at my house. Um, yeah, so that's how it started. Was basically I thought I could get COVID and
Yeah.
keel over, and I hadn't done anything.
Yeah. It's amazing. So like when I saw that you had the three songs out, so you got things in the way of the screen, Heart on My Heart,
Yeah.
and then you've got Showdown, and you
Mhm.
have Convincing Me. They're the three singles,
Yeah.
the three albums: Magnolia, Tirana Americana, and Bird Life. How's it? How do you? Can you pick a favorite one?
My favorite album
Yeah. Well,
or favorite song? Favorite
yeah.
song off all of them. I've got a couple. "Convincing Me," I actually really like. That song came together really well, and that is just tracking wise is just me and a drummer. I'm doing all the other stuff, and then the video came together really well. So I like that. It's a really funky track.
Yep.
I think it's sort of I think it's a funny concept. I'm hoping that maybe somebody picks it up for a TV show or something because,
Yep.
yeah, we shouldn't go there, but you're convincing me.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
is the catchphrase,
Are you,
the hook.
are you getting much airplay from the community radio stations or the bigger radio stations?
Yeah, I'm getting plenty of support. It's really nice. I can see
Yep.
in my portal there on AMRAP just tons of downloads, and so yeah, I'm really thankful for
Yep.
for community radio. And I've worked at some community radio stations here in Australia, and so I know AMRAP's a big deal.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but I do really appreciate all the people spending it.
Yeah. It's really hard because we're not supposed to be able to have access to AMRAP, but we can see what's on there and we can go hunt down the music and bits and pieces because we're an internet-based
Well,
radio station. It's really hard. They just yeah,
right.
because a whole new industry now there's out and about like with the internet radio stations. They're growing all the time, but
Yeah.
yeah, we don't get the we don't get the access to what the radio stations do. So we do the hard slog. So, but it doesn't matter. We enjoy it. So
You know what? Sometimes you do better work when there's some limits.
yeah, you got to work out how to break down those limits and boundaries, and you smash right through them. So I was
That's
wondering,
right.
you got the three albums, three different genres. Um,
Mhm.
you started off in jazz, is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How did that all come about? How did you get into music?
My father My mother and father actually, when I was a toddler, were in
Yep.
a bluegrass band together. So that's the bluegrass element. And then as by the time I was 8, my dad had really gotten into tenor banjo, 4-string
Yep.
banjo, and that's used a lot in Dixieland and traditional jazz. So
Yep.
he got really obsessed with
Yeah.
banjos. Um, and we had a house full of banjos, and he would buy and sell and
Yep.
um, collect them, and so we just had that music around the house constantly.
Yep.
And he taught me how to play it. I have an older brother. He learned how to play it. And by the time I was, probably a teenager, I started playing with dad out in his band. And then I was 17. I just graduated high school, and I got my first gig playing 6 nights a week.
Yep.
Uh, and singing and playing old jazz, and it was in a tourist trap,
Yeah.
There was a pub that had jazz every night, and as a tourist destination, and I was stoked.
Yep.
I thought that's fantastic. This is the life.
Yeah.
And I was living above a pub, playing jazz 6 nights a week, and I was only 17 years old.
Yeah. And that obviously in America.
Yeah.
When did you come to Australia?
I came to Australia just a bit over 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So 2003.
Yep.
I came here. I'd been married to my wife for a while. We met in America.
Yeah.
She's Australian.
Yeah.
She's from Melbourne. And
my condolences.
I just immigrated here. I'd never been here. She lived in America with me for a bit, and
yeah.
And she said, "I got to go home. Let's move to Australia. You'll love Australia."
Yeah.
I just had to take her word for it.
You had to move to Melbourne of all places, or Victoria anyway.
Yeah, we moved here, and I was never a city boy. I grew up out in the country, and so it was a big change for me. It took me probably 2 years to get over the fear that this was all going to fall apart somehow, that something was going to go wrong. And then it took me 4 years to start to feel at home.
Yeah.
So, but I've been here, just over 20 years now. I'm a citizen, so.
Yeah. Do you go out touring very much?
Well, since COVID, not as much. Yeah. So, I do play gigs and around Melbourne and surrounds mostly. So for this record, we're going to take it. The records, we're going to take them out and do some festivals, and I'd like to do a round of New South Wales shows, a round of probably go down to Tassie. I might go to Perth. I got some relatives over there.
That's beautiful. Yeah, you'll love it.
Yeah, we'll see if I get up to Queensland or not. But I'd like to take it around Australia.
Yeah, it's great. All the states in Australia, they're all different. And they have all their quirky little bits. I've been lucky to go to every state in Australia except for Tasmania. I'll get there eventually. But, the culture in different places. I know that in Melbourne, the music culture in Melbourne's a lot different to Perth. And over here is a lot of rock bands, but the country and the folks starting to pick up the further south you go. So it's great. It'd be really good to see you come over. Because you've got a choice of 3 genres to play in. You get to go to 3 different...
That's it. I can just sort of blend in wherever I go.
Yeah. Hey, I do a segment in the show called Get to Know. So it's 10 random questions that no normal adult would ask another adult. But
fantastic.
I don't have my cards with me. You've noticed me looking around. I'm trying to see where I put them. Give me 2 seconds. I can snip this rude bit out.
Here.
I'm just going to duck around the corner and grab the cards. I'll be right back.
Sure, no worries.
All right, I've got to just get 10 random questions. I'll probably do the first 10 off the top of the list. Okay, you got to fill in the gap. My something got me into trouble.
My dog.
Yep, your dog.
My dog got me into trouble.
How?
They're always. I got a dog here. We've adopted her. She came from 100 acres. We live on an acre. Oh gosh, she's always bringing things in.
Yeah.
I'll leave it at that.
Yeah. All right. What's the first album you bought?
Um, First album I
Yep.
purchased for myself. Ooh, that's probably a 45 of Prince's Little Red Corvette.
Yep. A hangover cure, or your best hangover cure?
Greasy food and a Gatorade.
Oh, yep. What's your worst bad habit?
Um, Geez, my worst bad habit.
Yeah. That's assuming you've got bad habits.
Yeah, I do. I do bad habits. Uh, I struggle to put things away all the time. I'm getting better though.
Yeah, I'm not getting better at that. If anything, I'm getting
I've got
worse.
ADHD. I'm on to the next thing and I forget what I'm doing.
Yeah.
You know,
Okay. What's a food you can't get enough of?
peanut butter.
Peanut butter. Oh, do you have it with like jam? Or in America they call it jelly, don't they?
Jelly, yeah, or
Yeah.
jam. Yeah, either. Yeah, look, I'll eat it straight out of the jar. I love peanut
Oh
butter.
yeah, yeah,
I eat peanuts all the time.
yeah. You can't get enough. What's the best pickup line you've given or received?
Um, the best pickup line. Wow. Um, Gee whiz. I used to just ask. I used to seriously go up and with a straight face and ask girls if they wanted to go bowling,
Bowling. Yeah. Did it work?
and it would just caught them off guard because who asked someone like
Yeah.
in a pub,
Yeah.
like in your 20s or something, is like 10-pin bowling was so far off the mind.
Yeah.
And so I'd ask us because we only had that sort. We didn't have lawn bowls.
Yeah.
Um, so I'd say, hey, you want to go? I said, I've been looking at you all night, and I just had to come over and ask you this question. I was wondering if you'd like to go bowling.
Yeah. Are you Macca's or HJ's?
HJ's. What's HJ's?
Hungry Jack's, Burger King.
Hungry Jack's. All
Yeah.
right, Burger King. Okay. I still struggle with that one.
Yeah.
Macca's.
Yep. Your favorite subject when you're at school?
Music.
Music. Yeah. If you
Science after that.
pardon?
And science after
Yeah.
that. If you want something non-music related, I really like science.
Yeah. Okay. If you were a car, what car would you be?
A Tirana. A Holden
Yep.
Tirana.
Yep. Yeah. Well, it's on your album, cover of your album, Americana,
I've,
a
I've
Toronto Americana.
I have now fallen in love with Tiranas. Yes.
Yep. And the last question, other than your genre of music, all three of them, what
Yeah.
is your next favorite genre of music?
I'm a big like. It's hard to say, but I would probably go with. I like old, like not gangster rap or anything, but I like Tribe Called Quest, De La Soul,
Yep.
that sort of stuff. I was a real big fan of R&B in the '90s and hip hop in the '90s.
Yeah. So, all righty. Now, going back to your music and your music roots, and how do you prepare for writing songs? Do you have any rituals or superstitions? Do you sit down before writing, or you just get straight into it? And
They just usually just sort of pop in my head. I don't really try to write anything, and I think, I mean, I have in the past. I worked for a publishing company briefly,
yeah,
um, and they just tell us what they were looking for, and we'd write something. But for the most part, I prefer for it to be spontaneous
yeah,
and inspired. I like it when an idea comes because then that generally means there's a creative spark behind it,
yeah,
and that'll push you through. Whereas if you sit down and try to write something, I often like I'll allow myself to have playtime.
yeah,
So like I'll grab a bass or hook up a guitar to something different and put it in a different tuning or something and just play around a bit. I have playtime, and
yeah,
that might lead to some.
yeah,
But yeah, it's got to pop in your head, I think.
yeah. How many instruments can you play?
Um, that's a good question. Um, well, on these albums, let's see. Let's start there. I did some
Yep,
mandolin, some
yep,
tenor banjo, guitar,
yep.
bass. Played a
Bass.
lot of bass on these records. Keys,
Yep.
uh, and then I've really spent a long time working on harmonica, which I did not play on any of these records, but
Oh,
I
what?
love
Yep,
playing blues.
yep.
and I actually do get hired to go play in bands and only play harmonica.
Yeah.
But on these three projects, nothing. I didn't use it once, which
Yeah.
is really weird.
Yeah. No, it's cool. It's great. Looks like I've got my guitar behind me, but I can only like play two chords or something, and not very well. So I just find it really intriguing on people when they can play multiple instruments and they can just. It's amazing. It's yeah. Kudos to you for being able to do it. Or it's great.
I always just find that I do it to sort of relax. So if I'm
Yep.
just need to get my mind off something like that, I think that's probably the other reason
Yep.
seems there's Zen time, and that may be why we pick up more. I've got a 5 string banjo, which I can finger pick and stuff, but
Yep.
I can play lap steel, and that's in an open tuning, so it's sort of similar to that. But
Yep.
there's picking patterns. So as an adult, I'm just started taking lessons on 5 string banjo because I really have always wanted to play 5 string
Yep.
banjo instead of 4 string banjo,
What's the
and
difference?
a 4 string banjo, well, a tenor banjo is tuned in fifths.
Yep.
So tuned like a mandolin, tuned like a violin.
Yep.
And it really lends itself to, chord melodies on tenor banjo
Yep.
typically. Um, but a 5 string banjo is tuned to an open G chord
Yep.
and got what's called a drone string at the top, which is tuned high.
Yep.
Anyways, that's why it's got this really cool, like you can do that rolling, tumbling sound on it,
Yep.
because it's tuned to an open chord, and it's just something enchanting about it. And I've always wanted to learn, and I'm self-taught. Like
Yep.
I can fake it.
Yep.
I did some recording here, and before I had a chance to tell the mixer, I was like, I'm going to get somebody good to do that.
Yep.
He found the track and put it in, and I was like, oh no 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 no
Yeah.
no. I'm gonna get a professional. I want somebody that knows what they're doing. So yeah, I'm gonna straighten that out. I figure I have something to work on while I head towards retirement.
Yeah. Yeah. So what's next after you've brought out 3 albums and what's next? What are you going to do after this?
But I do want to do a proper blues record. That's one of my early loves. I grew up between Chicago and St. Louis, and we had a lot of blues players, a lot of
Yep.
great blues players, and some of them I had mentors that were really great blues players and got me on stage when I was a kid, and
Yeah.
I saw that's in me, and I do want to do that, but I just didn't want to start with it.
Yeah.
I wanted to start with these because it sort of sets up a broader message to people getting to know me. Is like I could go anywhere and do anything.
Yeah.
I could put out a hip hop record, and I may.
Yeah.
Like that's my thing is to challenge myself from
Yep.
now on to try to, like, I guess in today's industry, what motivates people is difficult because you don't make a lot of money off streams.
No.
You tour, you sell merch, and you break even. So really, it's
So
you got to have a reason that
why do it?
personal.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got to be a personal reason.
Yeah. Because I've noticed, yeah, it's like you said, you don't make much money on the streaming unless you're, you know, one of the Taylor Swifts or someone like that. It's really hard to get the music
That's
out
right.
there. Radio stations are drying up. The main radio stations only play their American pop music and things like that. And it's
Yep.
when you as a musician, especially as a young musician, how can they get that into their mind, knowing that the chances of them being successful in that career path is going to be a hard slog? How do you do it?
Well, my dad, who was a musician, begged me to not be a musician.
Yeah.
Even he knew it's a hard life back then.
Yeah.
We're talking in the 80s and 90s. He was telling
Yeah.
me, don't do it, don't do it. It's never been easy, but at the moment, it's the worst it's ever been.
Yeah.
And you're doing more work. They want you to do 3 pieces of content a week
Yeah.
on 3 different platforms, so you stay relevant and make it interesting and make it funny, make it weird, make sure you get people's attention. And yeah, I can only imagine someone saying to Johnny Cash and say, "Hey Johnny, can you get online and put on
Yeah.
like a silly hat? Maybe talk to a Chihuahua or something, and just make it interesting. Like, can you do something like that? Maybe 3, 4 times a
Yeah.
week." He would slap you in the face.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, it's so bizarre because we're making less money off our music's been devalued to such an
Yeah.
extreme point, and we're doing more work than we've ever done.
Yeah. It's crazy.
It is just wild out here. So if you're a young musician and you're starting out, do it because you love it. Don't look at it as a money-making venture.
Yeah.
Make the best product you can on your budget. Just, try to use what you've got around you to get it done. That's the other thing. Don't spend all your dollars chasing you know, a
Yeah.
$2,000 microphone when a $100 one will do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
It's like
right
always.
now, like,
I always
yeah.
say to someone, like I've got a friend that I'm mentoring doing this type of stuff, and we're setting him up, and he's got his own website now, and he's going through the motions of it, and his computer's not really up to spec to do a lot of stuff. And I always say to people,
Yeah.
like especially to him, he complains about his computer. I'm like, well, what's the best computer? And he'll be going, oh, talk about something, really flash. I said, no, the best one is the one that you've got in front of you. So, like you said, you don't need to go spend $2,000 on a
Yeah.
microphone when you've got like $100 one in front of you that's just as good. We just got to work around it and use it, learn how
I've
to
got
use it.
recording stuff. I've got recording stuff here, and I taught myself to record. Like, I bought gear. I
Yeah,
had it sitting here. COVID hit. And every musician does this. We all buy some stuff and tell our partners, "I got to have this. I'm going to
yeah,
make some recordings," and then most of us don't.
yeah,
So it's really funny that I had this here,
yeah,
and then of course I'm like, well, I got the time, so I might as well.
yeah,
I might as well.
yeah,
I YouTubed so much and read forums and all that sort of stuff. And it's funny, some of those things are still coming up in my feed
yeah, yeah,
on Facebook. And I look at some of the things people are saying. It's like, oh, you got to have a bare minimum of this on your computer. And
yeah.
I'm thinking, no,
No,
no, you don't.
no, you just got to know how to use
And,
it. Yeah,
for me, it's like bass, drums, um, guitar,
yeah,
vocals, harmonies, and I'm off.
yeah,
I can put some keys on there. But a lot of people, when they mix, are using. I'm reading like they're using like 60 tracks or something. I'm thinking, what are you
yeah,
doing in there?
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
what are you doing? What are you, Queen? Like, just get
yeah,
it done, get it out.
yeah,
The song should be able to carry itself, anyways. Like, that's the other thing. Is like, I know there's DJs and dance music stuff. Clearly, doesn't
yeah,
apply here. But if you're a songwriter, you don't need a whole lot to flesh it out. You
yeah,
know, so I think if you're a singer songwriter, especially, you just need a little interface, a computer. You can download some software for free. BandLab is one
yeah,
that some people have put me onto. That's all online.
yeah,
So get yourself a cheap interface and probably like a Behringer microphone or
yeah,
something. Studio mic of some sort, and don't concern yourself with. They can do so much in post.
yeah,
When they're mixing it, you'd be amazed. So I try to tell people all the time: just work with what you've got, finish it. Perfect is the enemy of the good.
yeah. Yep. So,
Yeah.
what do you think of the influence with AI music coming out now?
It's frightening, and I don't know what to expect. And unfortunately, I think most, and this is a lot of consumers won't care.
Yeah,
That I think that is the part that is hard for me to say,
yeah,
because I love my fans and I believe that people are innately good.
yeah,
Um, but having said that, Spotify doesn't pay artists very well, and everybody's got it on their phone.
yeah,
So if it's convenient and it's cheap and it's easy to produce, it's going to be problematic. I'm starting to see a pattern here.
yeah. Yeah, well, a lot of people don't even know half the time when it's AI music generated or not. It's
That's right. It's so good, and it's you know, they had the strike in Hollywood, the writer's strike, and they've managed to get AI out of there.
Yeah.
Well, I know Sony and I think it's BMI are suing the companies like Suno and I think
Yeah.
some other ones because obviously when you feed a computer information that's copyrighted, you're
Yeah.
programming that computer with copyrighted information.
Yeah. Too
So
right.
you shouldn't have done that.
Yeah. Yeah. No.
That's the way I look at
Yeah.
it, you
Oh,
know. Sit
oh,
down and write some code, boys.
yeah.
Write some code. Don't be feeding our songs in there.
Yeah. Was it? Could it be classified as a different type of musician?
Well, I look at it like, here's the funny bit is that musicians have suffered from this for a long time.
Yeah.
So there were early on, people would sing folk songs and write songs, and then they get a sort of reputation, and then eventually educated people started writing those songs down and selling them,
Yeah.
and that was the first issue for folk
Yeah.
musicians was they didn't have the education to do that, and then all of a sudden someone was stealing their stuff, and that was hundreds of years ago.
Yeah.
Now you've got the next thing was, of course, Victrolas.
Yeah.
Took gigs away. Then you had player pianos.
Yeah.
Took gigs away, and then you had vinyl 8-track cassettes, DJs taking gigs away, karaoke.
Yeah.
Now that is a really interesting one because it's like people get drunk and sort of take the piss while they're singing, and it's like that's our job, that's what we do, and it's just so weird that takes some nights as well. And so we have had this AI is sort of like just in a long line of things stealing gigs from musicians, and it doesn't happen much in other industries. And now they're starting to look at AI for doing law. They're starting to do all sorts of things for AI, and it's scaring people. And I think, well, this happened to us with karaoke. This happened to us with DJs.
Yeah.
Like we've already done this. This happens to us every 10 years. Something comes out. So,
Well, hopefully it'll start slowing down. But anyway, I'm going to start winding it up because I've taken a big chunk of your night, and we had a bit of a technical issue to start off with. But I'm really keen to see what happens next, and I'm going to keep an eye on it. And I'll get hold of Jack and organise another catch up in a couple of weeks and see how things are going.
That sounds great. It sounds great. Really lovely chatting to you. I had a good time.
Yeah, thank you for joining us. Good luck with the 3 songs: Heart of My Heart, Showdown, Convincing Me, off the albums Roadside Magnolia. I can't read or speak at the moment. Tirana Americana and Birdlife.
Yeah.
So good luck. Hopefully I'll keep going for you and keep pumping out the music.
If you go to my Bandcamp page, all the albums are up there today. I'll put them out on Bandcamp today. And, they'll slowly be trickled onto Spotify because there's a whole process of playlist pitching everything.
Yeah.
So but go to my Bandcamp, you can hear that. I've got singles on Spotify. You can check them out too.
Yeah. But like the QR code, get on the QR code. That'll take you to Presley's website. And I'm pretty sure all the links were there. Bandcamp, was that on there?
Yeah, the links will all be there. Yep.
Sweet. Yep. So you get there and support artists, buy the albums. And then, get on it. So thank you very much. I could steer you talking. Check that out. I could talk for ages about some of the topics we're talking about, because it's really good being able to speak to someone with a bit of knowledge on it and understanding on how it's all working. So, but no, thank you and good luck for your music.
Cheers. Thank you very much, mate.
lonesome, and you think that I've grown some, but I'm just the same. Well, I don't wanna argue anymore. Well, I'm wearing out your door, wearing out these shoes. Every time I run back to you. Run back to you. You say you're restless. Well, I'm tired and breathless. Everything's gone black. And you put your hand up, said you help me stand up. Well, girl, I'll break your back. Well, I don't wanna argue anymore. Well, I'm wearing out your door, wearing out these shoes. Every time I run back to you. Run back to you. Don't need another showdown. I'm feeling wore down, and I need a change. I feel so lonesome, and you think that you've grown some, but you're just the same. Well, I don't wanna argue anymore. Well, I'm wearing out your door, wearing out these shoes. Every time I run back to you. Run back to you. Don't need another showdown. I'm feeling wore